The mini we're talking about today is absolutely wild. When I flipped through Bestiary 1 a year or two ago, this was a creature I thought we'd never see a mini for. It is a three-headed, centipede-like nightmare. It has 3 different breath weapons, an ability to partition off conditions it may acquire, and if it successfully grabs hold of one creature with 2 different heads, it can rip that creature in half. It is a monster your party might come across in the Mana Wastes, the land between Geb and Nex, where decades of arcane warfare have warped the land and the creatures who live there, which also makes it the perfect location for some awesome adventures. So that's where we're headed. Later this winter, we'll be launching our next actual play show, Love and Hate in the Mana Wastes, a playthrough of the Outlaws of Alkenstar adventure path. I am so excited. We have such a great cast lined up for you. Stay tuned for more information about that in the coming weeks, but today let's take a look at one of the biggest threats they may encounter there and then chat with Paizo's very own mini master Mark Moreland all about him. And of course, thank you to Whiskets for sending it our way. So it's time. Let's all say hello to Mukradi. Before we dive in, if you want to add some magic and spice to your 5e games, check out the Fablemaker's animated tarot deck from our sponsor Hit Point Press. I just did a full review of the set, which you can check out in the eye in the corner of your screen, but this gorgeous deck of tarot cards can enhance your 5e games with new NPCs, class abilities, story ideas, and so much more. I'll show you how to use the guidebook and other online tools to get more out of one deck of cards than you ever thought possible. I'll be using these in all my games going forward, and watch that video to see why. Check out the Fablemaker's animated tarot using the links in the doohickey down below, or visit animatedtarot.com. Mukradis are centipede-like, 3-headed predators who have been warped by millennia of wild arcane storms in the Mana Wastes. They've mutated and evolved into unpredictable elemental monstrosities who might spew you with acid, immolate you or electrocute you, or just pull you apart with its multiple powerful jaws. Its partitioned anatomy allows it to segregate effects like confusion, paralysis, slow, or stun, disabling a single head instead of the entire creature. At close range, is likely to bite at you with any number of its heads. If it strikes the same creature with 2 heads using its pull apart ability, it deals a significant amount of extra damage, and it might just rip you in half if you critically fail a fortitude save. At a distance, it has 3 different breath weapons with different ranges, so it's able to strategically target foes with a wide variety of attacks at its disposal. Oh, and if you get lucky and crit with an attack against the Mukradi, well, that just makes it angry, and you wouldn't like it when it's angry. It's able to immediately recharge its breath weapon and let loose. This is one of the apex predators of the Mana Wastes, and as a level 15 creature, it is going to be pretty deadly to most. The creature is considered gargantuan in size and does come on a 4-inch base. When you compare it to some of our other minis, it's not a hugely formidable presence on the battlefield like a dragon would be, but that might just lull the adventuring party into a false sense of security. You can find the Mukradi stat block in Bestiary 1. Let's learn more about Mukradi and how he was chosen for inclusion in this set with our own good buddy Mark Moreland, Paizo's Director of Brand Strategy. All right, Mark, today we've got the Mukradi, which is one of the, would you call it one of the premium figures in the line?
I mean, this set is weird in that they're all sort of premium figures. In a normal randomized booster set, the premium figures are the standalone sets where they're not randomized. In this case, they're all not randomized. So they're all premium. You always know what you're getting. And as a GM who's looking for that one mini, or as a player, to be honest, looking for that one mini to represent that one character, the premium is that you get to pick it without hoping that the random number generator is on your side. So yeah, this is what we would typically call a premium figure. When this was originally a blind booster based set, this was going to be the random or the premium set for the premium figure for the set.
And choosing those premium figures has got to be really difficult, I imagine, because you have a lot of very large creatures to choose from and very important creatures to choose from. So tell us about, just in general, what that process looks like choosing these premium figures, and two, like, how did you settle on Mukradi for this set?
So Mukradi is interesting because it's a newer creature. It was one of the new inventions for the Pathfinder 2nd edition bestiary. It's actually one of the ones named on the back of the book. That when it was like, hey, including new creatures like the Mukradi and the I don't even remember which other ones we picked, but I know Mukradi was one of them because this was a new creation for Pathfinder 2nd edition. And so when we did that, we always knew that we wanted it to play a large role in the world. But it can be hard when you have a setting that's already 12 years old to just suddenly introduce a new major threat. So we this gave us an opportunity to give a little bit more spotlight to that. And it's been featured in quite a few pieces of art of this region. So like with so many other figures in the set, when we knew we were doing something focusing on this part of the world, the Mukradi is one of those very visually stunning creatures that lives here. And it's a little hard to tell from the box, but it's basically a 3-headed gigantic centipede, and each of the heads is keyed to a different elemental attack. So it's like a bug 3/5 of a Tiamat. Right. I don't know.
Right.
But not that we're allowed to use that IP. But so it's not something you want to encounter. They run around the mana wastes, which is a place where magic doesn't necessarily work consistently, and so when faced with one of these things, it's an even bigger threat because your fireball spell might not work. Mm-hmm. So it's a fun choice to go with. We're always sort of tempted to go with a dragon, mm-hmm. because everyone loves dragon minis. Mm-hmm. They do really well as unpainted figures, which means that we can use that single sculpt or single tooling at the factory to double the number of products that we can make with it, which is always a fun, I say fun, which is an efficient way to increase the return on that investment. Right. So it's always a balancing act. Do we do another dragon, which we think is the most universally needed and desired fantasy creature, or do we go with something that's a little bit more unique to our setting, or that maybe isn't like the dozens of other dragon figures that most people have? I know I have a whole box of them, of just dragons. So it's a balancing act, and in this case we decided we're never going to have an opportunity to do this gargantuan 3-headed centipede again. It's just not going to make sense in other sets, and we have so few slots to do a gargantuan or larger figure that we didn't want to pass it up in this case.
And this would be a great one to slot into your Outlaws of Alkenstar adventure, which takes place at least partly in the Mana Wastes. Mm-hmm. And it makes me wonder, do you have... I guess 2 questions come to mind. The Outlaws of Alkenstar set, we talked a little bit previously about Bloodlords. And do you have other recommendations for places to pick up minis for Outlaws of Alkenstar? We have the Constructs, Cursed Constructs set here, which would definitely be a good one to pick up. And Mukradi, anything else that you would recommend for that adventure path? It's a tougher one, I think, because it's a very specific setting.
Off the top of my head, I mean, over the years, we've done a number of clockwork figures. Mm-hmm. There's the Clockwork Dragon that was a premium figure in a former set. I don't remember which one it was. Maybe Dungeons Deep.
It's in the corner of your screen right there, though, if you want to watch it.
Yeah, I know you have the benefit of hindsight to make me look smart or dumb, depending on how people want to read it. So the Clockwork Dragon is certainly appropriate for that part of the world because Clockworks sort of originated there, where the magic doesn't work right. Any alchemist is going to be a good fit there. Anyone with a firearm is going to be a good fit there. But we've never really done a set that was all in on that part of the world, in part because guns in general are such a divisive element to add to a fantasy role-playing game that we have our one part of the world where they're prominent, and it's sort of take it or leave it. a GM doesn't want that in their world or their setting, they can just pretend that it doesn't exist and that there's just a giant magic blasted wasteland between Nex and Geb, and that there's no people who live there. Whereas someone who does want guns can do it. When it comes to designing sets for minis, it's a little bit harder because we don't want half our audience to say, nope, I'm not buying any of that because it's all about people with firearms. So we've been a little bit more conservative when it comes to Alkenstar representation in the minis, but hopefully this set gives a little bit more of that. We have a shield marshal that is in the
Heroes set, I think.
Heroes and Villains. I think the Heroes and Villains set. You can do your editing magic and put it up there for people to see, and that's totally because I remembered which of these 6 boxes it's in. So yeah, we're trying to get it in here and there, but we could do more. I think there are some steampunk settings that go full in, and any minis that exist for those are going to do well for an Alkenstar setting. There aren't a lot of pre-painted steampunk minis, but there are a lot of unpainted steampunk minis that folks can find that are going to be a good match for that.
My last question about Mukradi here, and maybe it doesn't even relate 100% to Mukradi, but are there minis that have hit your table when you get to play that have really had a huge impact, that of great story moment and just kind of major game? Anything that comes to mind? I could see Mukradi hitting the table like a mana waste setting, and it just being such a unique fight, especially in the mana waste where the magic may go awry. And so, just want anything else jump to your mind for minis in your games?
No, I mean, I think that they tend to be the larger figures, that they tend to be the ones that fill that premium slot. I think whenever you're playing and the GM pulls a giant mini from under the table and plops it down, that's when it is real. He or she can say, all right, and the dragon takes up the whole room, and you go, yeah, we can face this dragon, until it hits the table and you recognize that it is like 10 times as big as your little figure that's standing there. Then it really sinks in what you're up against. I think anytime that happens, it's really memorable. I think that in the games I personally have played, they tend to fizzle, or real life gets in the way before they get to the super high levels. So we're not dealing with the giant minis that have that effect. So personally, I can't think of it as often as I wish were the case, but I do know that when it has happened, I think James Jacobs was running a game for the developers. This is probably 5-6 years ago, at least, because I was still a developer at the time. So it was before I transitioned off of working on the books to working closer with licensing. He was running I think the Lost City was a first edition D&D module that he was sort of porting into Pathfinder as a way of running us through something that we didn't know or work on, which was appreciated because it can be hard in an office campaign where where someone in the room has actively worked on the product, to actually have that sense of surprise. And we went into one room and he put down a Glabrazu figure. It was probably from either the Rise of the Rune Lords or the Wrath of the Righteous set, but I think it was Rise of the Rune Lords, and it wasn't so much the mini as just that we were not ready to face a Glabrazu, and my character ended up selling my soul to this thing. Like, I made a full-on, my alignment is shifting to chaotic evil. I am yours. Tell me what to do, in order to save my companions. I also wanted to level into assassin, so I had to become evil anyway. So it sort of worked out. But that's one of those of, like, whenever I see that mini now, I'm just like, oh, it's Bezalak. and James has enjoyed being able to insert that specific character into later books and mention it in meetings and everything, just as a way of just poking me and be like, you remember your soul still belongs to Bezalak. So we'll see when he cashes that chip in, but for the time being, that's the mini that when it hits the table now, I seriously I wonder what I'm going to have to pay to survive that encounter.
Oh, that's amazing. And that is also one of actually my favorite Pathfinder Battles minis. When we do comparisons to other minis, which we try to do here a lot, that's one of the I will pull out just to have on camera one more time to show how cool that mini is compared to anything we're even getting these days. So I love that one. Well, Mark, thank you again for joining us for this video. Hopefully we'll see you again soon here.
Yep, I'll be back.
Again, many thanks to Mark for joining us today. In our next video about the adult Umbral Dragon, Mark will be answering some of your questions, so be sure you're subscribed to see that. Impossible Lands Mukradi is on sale right now for between $45 and $50. Let me know what you think about him in the comments section down below. Don't forget to check out the Fablemaker's animated tarot using our links down below as well. This is such a great tool. Seriously, if you haven't seen my video review and you have a few minutes, check it out because I think you will be surprised. You can also pre-order our Kobold plushies right now. We're eagerly awaiting their arrival at our various distribution centers around the world, so now is the time to get your pre-orders in. If you'd like to keep up with all the latest happenings from us, you can come chat with us on Discord using our invitation link down below, or follow us on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Mastodon. For now, stay safe, have fun, love each other, and I will see you next time at the Gallant Goblin.